Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Good morning. Oh, super sparse this morning, but how are you guys doing? You know, I'm noticing here my camera does not cover my whole face anymore. What's with that? What's with that? Something's up with it. Well, anyways, let's go to the charts here. We had, so you got to ignore the gap here. There's a gap here. That is because of the rollover. I don't have my charts adjusted. So just realize that that is a gap that will show up on the charts for a few days and we will retrace. But we had, a pretty significant move down here in the Treasuries and a significant move up in the E-mini. They're still not above the levels that we were at before Friday when everything escalated. Makes sense to me because there are still tariffs. So the news that appears to be driving us up, if I can I want to pull up for you the exact headline. China says it's willing to resolve the trade war with a calm attitude. So let's come in here and change our headlines, shall we? China says it's willing to resolve the trade war with a calm attitude. My keyboard is giving me phantom strokes. Do not like. All right, so all sorts of stuff. Win says, we're in for a bumpy ride. Well, so let's keep in mind here in 8 minutes, preliminary GDP, big number. Talking about the China things. Steve Mnuchin said in an interview with Bloomberg News that the U.S. was deliberating whether to issue ultra-long bond with maturities beyond 30 years. Yes, they've been talking about that ever since I have been trading. And nothing would make me happier than a 100-year bond. Can you imagine the volatility and leverage on a 100-year bond? That would be awesome. Let's do it. I could only hope. Eat more cheese because people aren't processing vitamin D. Well, if you want vitamin D, you need to go outside, right? Or bananas, yeah. I like bananas. Well, let's see if we can fix our camera here. There's something wrong with our camera. Configure video. That would do it. That would do it. Turn all that stuff off. Color intensity. Right. Flicker off. Save. Okay. That's a little better. That's what it should look like. I'm having issues though. Is my thing not seeing everything correctly today? Says we're live. Oh, it says we have 4 watching. Okay. When I look at my thing, it says that we've only got 1 person watching. And I'm like, what? But that must be our one faithful watcher on Twitch. Thank you very much. I think it's No Monkey, but I think there's more than 1, but we'll see. Anyways. Okay, that's fixed. That's fixed. Yes. Yes, there is a Discord for more serious chat. So I've been looking at things. This is exciting. Maybe I shouldn't tell you guys. No, I'm going to tell you guys because then I am obligated to do it. I've been doing some research, and I think, because we were talking yesterday, I need like an assistant to read things out for me. And the problem that I have with the things like Discord has a thing set up that will read everything for me? Well, there's a JavaScript library that will do text to speech. And there's also node libraries. Whoa. What was that? I apologize. Had a couple of missed frames there. I hope that you get the screen okay. Let's do this. Let's disable the preview. I wonder what the deal was with that. Would you prefer my random crazy ferret comments that I sprinkle liberally in the hopes that ferret math, which is contagious, will pass through the keyboards in a little first? I'm not into the furry thing, but you can totally talk about the ferrets if you want. You guys can really, honestly, you guys can say whatever the heck that you want in the YouTube chat. I really don't care. It's activity, it's fun. The YouTube chat is for fun. As long as you're having fun and everybody's enjoying it, we're good. That bird does not want to go to sleep. It's dark out there, and he's screaming. Oh, I must have come down and let them out or something. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I found a JavaScript library. It does text-to-speech, and then I can connect it to the YouTube live chat. So I should be able to make a web application that will read the tweets out to me in any form that I want. I can also make it read it faster and in different voices. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something where I can create a configuration file that has settings for different users that we know we have in here, so that it will. And there's another overload. Wonder if my video card is dying. GPU there says it's 11%. Because of the video encode. I don't know, folks. My video card might be going. It's been a few years. 2 minutes till the news. Let's see here. What are we looking for? Preliminary GDP quarter over quarter, looking for a reading of 2.0%. I think it actually might be a little bit higher than that, to be honest. Goods trades balance negative 74.0. GDP price index 2.4%. Preliminary wholesale inventories 2%. Unemployment claims 215. And then later on today we have pending wholesales month over month. You showed up as 2 live streams on my feed, but I had to refresh this channel. I don't know. Have you pressed the bell icon? Do you get the notifications? Because you should get like a little notification should pop up when it goes live that'll say, hey, this is going live. Do you want to view it now? And you just click that. But I don't know. When you go live, it kind of does some weird stuff. And she says yes. Okay, so everybody's polling. That was the poll. Ooh, they're polling. Ooh, they're polling, boys. They are ready for this one. This is going to be a monster. Well, because it's moving like this, I don't think that I'm going to try playing the news with a market order. Okay, remember we're looking for 2%. 2 seconds. Boom. Okay, not a whole lot of reaction to it. And the reading came in exactly as expected. Well, that was a whole bunch of nothing. Ooh, look at all those offers it's putting on. It's like all the liquidity got put back on. Uh, Even the jobless claims number came in exactly as expected. Well, well, well. Yeah, I really think that my video card might be going because um, when I woke up this morning and I started things, um, my miner wouldn't close. I had to restart the machine. And now I come in, I had some sort of a fault, and I skipped a ton of frames because of rendering lag. So I'm wondering if it's a video card. And there you go, there's a little bit more. Um, and I'm kind of mad because yesterday there was a deal. Oh my gosh, at Best Buy, there was this deal. GTX 2070 on clearance for $300. $300. Can you believe that? That's $200 off retail. But they didn't have any at my Best Buy. So, didn't get the deal. Didn't get a new video card. Kind of thinking that we have a problem here. So if I just look over here, now that that's been going for a little bit, I can see little peaks in the encoding and the GPU, but not actually seeing why I'm skipping frames still. I go window shopping. Well, probably not going to find it for 300. No, it's a 2070. 2070 is the card. Yeah. Mm-mm. That was something like I think, well, assuming that everything continues to work, I would prefer to wait until February. Yep, 2070. I was planning on maybe buying a new card in February. Or when new stuff drops. Part of the reason that the 2070 is going down is because there's a 2070 Super out, so they're offering that now for $500, and so the price of the 2070s is going to come down, but 300 is still crazy good. That is so good that you could probably buy it and resell it. But I am getting skipped frames. So I have one thought is I could try closing some windows. Market is really quiet. I'm looking at my 10-year and hardly any of the numbers are changing. Hardly any changing. By the way, did you see Donald Trump's tweet about Kristen Gillibrand? A sad day for the Democrats. Kristen Gillibrand dropped out of the presidential primary. I'm glad they never found out that she was the one I was really afraid of. Oh man, the master troll. I thought pretty funny. Okay, well that's an 11 tick zipper right there, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Given the context, so I don't think I want to touch it. He says he speaks his mind on Twitter, and he does. I think he needs to worry about Elizabeth now. I don't think so. I think that Elizabeth Warren has been hoisted up by extremely friendly voices. And if she wins, and they go into the general, she is going to get eviscerated. Eviscerated. You got to remember, at the beginning of this contest, and Elizabeth Warren was like at the very bottom because she was so disliked. And why has she moved up? Because progressive activists really like her and have been giving her positive media coverage. But all those people that really hate Elizabeth Warren are still out there. So I think be surprised. She is. So I think it would be comparable to Mitt Romney, right? Maybe it's just that people from Boston aren't likable. I don't know. Do you ever get like everybody hates Boston sport teams, right? Everybody hates the Boston sports teams. My girl is wicked smart. The problem I have, the problem I still have with Elizabeth Warren is that she's just all of her proposals are bad. they she has more progressive proposals and they seem to be more detailed, but unless something changes in the Senate, I suppose that the Democrats could take over the Senate and get rid of the filibuster and then try pushing anything that they can through. But unless that happens, there is not the snowball's chance of any of the things that she says becoming law. Too many of the things that she wants to do would be so damaging to the economy. Like, you think that this trade war thing is bad? The election of Elizabeth Warren, starting from the day that she gets inaugurated, you would see a huge decline in markets. Very similar to the decline in markets that we saw after Obama was elected. You know, it's kind of silly because I remember when people saying that the same thing about Donald Trump, and of course they were wrong. And I should put the addendum that the market can totally go against what you know what pundits say, but um, she has many proposals that are extremely negative for business. She wants to impose a financial transaction tax, which quite frankly would be just so damaging to our industry. So damaging. I can't even stress like a transaction tax. Um Granted, there's a lot of specifics about it and everything like that, but if they implemented the transaction tax that they've been talking about, all of the futures trading would move to Singapore. Which month are you displaying? December? I should be. Yep, ZFZ. But I'm still on the front month for the equities, of course. Is there a lot of activity in September today? I don't know. Given that none of the news moved us and how quiet things are right now, it's probably better that we just don't take trades. And when the E-mini gets going, I think we'll probably see a little bit more liveliness, but even then it might be, financial transaction tax. So what they want to do is they want to tax every time that we put an order in, there would be an additional tax. So in addition to the commissions that we pay, there would be a tax. And that tax is designed to, the reason that they say that they're doing it is to kill algorithmic trading. Okay. Super bad idea. Because if the algorithms can't make money off of a tick, then we can't make money off of a tick. Who's going to provide liquidity? It's a bad, bad, bad idea. And why would I do that if I can just go and trade in Singapore, which is what a lot of people have already done? Like the remember you were talking yesterday about Rotter? He lives in Singapore, right? Can you imagine if the markets moved largely to Singapore? That would that would decimate the US economy. That is literally the main driver of the US economy right now is those that financial stuff. And everything has been set up to be to be favorable towards some. The problems with those types of taxes is that drivers are people who can work around the tax are not the ones who get taxed. It's the middle American types like us who end up paying a full tax. Well, yeah. I mean, in this case, it is very much targeted towards the big guys, isn't it? But I have to say, every time that a politician says that we're on your side, I think you got to be suspicious. And I think the problem here is that they're just not. Um, I don't think that they really understand the market. So they say, well, there's all these robots out there, and this is bad for everyday investors. But really, it's not. Okay, they're saying they're taking money away from everyday investors. Really, they're not. Okay, if you don't want to pay a certain price, then don't put your bid there, and just use limit orders. If you're using a limit order and you get the price that you don't get the price that you want, it's your fault. Should have put it in earlier. It's not the robot's fault that you didn't get the price that you want. Who does the robots really affect? It's really like the hedge funds and stuff. And I guess you're affected from that because of your 401k, but like honestly, we're talking like negligible, and the advantage that we get in terms of liquidity matters so much more. So that's just like the one example that I put up because that's the thing that I know the most about, right? She wants the financial transaction tax. Disastrous idea. Disastrous idea. Even if she had Democrat control of Congress, you might have a hard time passing that. That's how bad it is. And she loves this idea, and she has many ideas like that. She wants to control the makeup of your corporation's board of directors. So she wants to fundamentally change the way that every board of every public company works. Um, Super bad idea. Companies should be allowed to pick their own governance. And if you don't like the governance of a company, don't invest in them. Now, of course, there should be rules. And there are some things about it that I think should be changed. I think that we should change some rules so that activist investors have a little bit more power. But you can't force everybody to use the same system. That's just asking for trouble because then everybody will just be, there's going to be a flaw in the way that you have things set up, and then everybody's going to be suspect to that flaw. And it'd be better to just let everybody make their own decisions, and the companies that have good governance will succeed, and the ones that don't will fail. And we should only make rules in there when there's a real problem. But she wants to she actually has there has to be so many women and all of these sorts of things in your corporate governance. I think it's just a terrible idea. These are the sorts of ideas that she has. And the thing is you talk to the far left people, they just gobble it up. But the problem is you're talking about a bunch of people that literally don't know what they're talking about. Elizabeth Warren herself really doesn't know what she's talking about. Honestly, she really doesn't. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say. She's an academic. Third law of robots must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second laws. But I think that her bigger issue is still she's just not likable. She has the Mitt Romney problem, right? Mitt Romney is not likable. They did a lot of work They did a lot of work to try and make, on his second run, to make Romney a more likable person. They tried to, like he was always wearing blue collar kind of clothes, and they did all of these things to kind of make him seem more genuine and likable. And people just didn't like him. And Elizabeth Warren has this same problem. She is in person. She is so wooden. Um, she is skinny and wiry, which is kind of not not confidence inspiring in people in terms of when they're looking for leadership. And then there's the whole Indian thing, which is just, I mean, come on. I don't know how you can possibly screw up something worse than the way that they did with taking the test and being, oh, see, look, we have like 0.1% Indian in her, which basically is like less than the average person. That was a real disaster, right? I agree. I tried very hard to like Mitt, and I simply could not see him as a charismatic leader. The problem with the television president is that presidenting is hard work and drudge work. Chupayora. Ellos still carega con cara de riso. I don't know what that means. I speak a little bit of Spanish, but I can't even read that. Thank you for your messages, though. We appreciate it. We need the annoying little girl from high school who ran everything very well and is smart but never gets invited to this. Oh, I mean, by the way, we had a pretty decent move up there, didn't we? Before I go into something else, didn't really give us a very clear long or anything. That zipper is a long signal that is usually good for at least 2 ticks, but there's no way that I was going to touch it with as slow as this market has been. But it was a 7-tick move, so what you going to do? Anyways, I think that I don't know how important having a really smart person as president actually is, to be honest. I mean, the first of all, it's an executive job. An executive job is a very different sort of a thing from what we often think about, Like, I don't know, most people aren't good at it, for starters, okay? But then most of the actual decisions are going to be made by, you know, experts in different fields, and the party tends to be the ones that know who those people are and help you select them. Donald Trump's a little bit different because his his policy has been so radically different from what the standard Republican is, especially in the forum of foreign policy. But there's a cabinet, and those guys are extremely influential on the policy. It seems to me that the president's ability to get out there and do the marketing, to have a Twitter that people watch and is influential and helps people understand or convince people or whatever it is, the thing that they need to understand. I think that that's way more important than a lot of the other stuff, because a lot of the other stuff is just like depends on who he hires. And quite frankly, the president, the office of president, has taken on too much power. And it's a good thing that Donald Trump is pushing the limits of that power and and now that people are trying to pull it back, because maybe now we actually get pushback against executive overreach. Although, unfortunately for them, most of the things that they've challenged him on, they have no legal standing on. So they haven't had many wins on that arena, have they? Twitch Restream bot, this does not translate to English. Are you speaking Portuguese? I mean, that looks like Portuguese to me, right? Cara deliso? That seems like Portuguese to me. But we don't have our Portuguese friend in here to translate for us. So I don't know why this particular person uh, is interested in talking to us in English, but you know, I still appreciate him trying. I still appreciate him trying. Who's hacking Uncle? That's what it says that translates to. Does it bother you that his cabinet has former lobbyists and very wealthy people who will benefit from these policies? Not necessarily. Um. Oh. Oh. I will pick a time. Maybe that's part of why. No, no, no. 9, 9:10 a.m. today. Cool. Um. This person likes Yoda. We have a guy from Russia. He pops in every once in a while named Yoda, and he's been a very dedicated follower. Shout out to Yoda out there. He doesn't come into YouTube, but he'll poke me on Discord every once in a while. So here's the thing with lobbyists. The lobbyists is a very necessary and important part of a functioning republic. Okay. Remember, we're a republic, not a democracy. And so the advantage of being a republic is that you have full-time representatives that can spend all of their time looking at issues and understanding them so that they can make the best choices for their constituents. And in order for them to be able to make those choices, they need to be able to speak to subject matter experts. And those subject matter experts are the lobbyists. Okay. So lobbyists is an important thing. And, there's so much money flowing out there that pretty much every side of an issue nowadays has people lobbying for it and people out there that you can talk to. Okay. So lobbying is totally an important function. Okay. But the problem comes in with lobbying is that instead of just talking to the representative and helping them understand the issue and convincing them what the correct way to go is on an issue, lobbyists use influence. And one of the biggest influences that they have is if you are nice to us when you're out of office, we can give you a job, for instance. So there needs to be some reform in that area. But I think that, lobbyists are going to have to be there because those are the people that know what's going on. You get what I'm saying? And yeah, the people that will benefit from those policies, the people that are going to be most affected by the policy are the ones that probably don't know the most about it. So it's kind of a conundrum, isn't it? I mean, do you really want to stick about you want to stick a bunch of people that know literally nothing about the issue? And if you do know something about the issue, then why aren't you lobbying on it? It's kind of there's not really a there's not really a perfect um there's not a really a perfect way to deal with that, right? But the who was it? Was it there's this guy that was involved in some scams and stuff like that, and he said, the biggest issue is that politicians and lobbyists can pass jobs between each other. We do need to do something about that, but I don't know how you do that without preventing the people that are really know an issue from going into stuff. So positives and minuses to everything. We need more than one idea or authority. Our Constitution was written with great foresight. I agree. You know, it really is. It really is a thing. Like Thomas Sawell, talks about this a lot. You have to think about any policy. There's positives and minuses from it. One of the things that really drives me nuts about a lot of political discourse that I see these days is that people act like, if we did X thing, then that would solve this problem, and then our life, everything would be infinitely better, and government would be efficient and not corrupt anymore, and we could live in our with our benevolent government in paradise. And no, it's never going to be like that. It's never going to be like that. You have to realize that corruption is a natural, unavoidable consequence of power. So you can do things to try and control and limit it, but it's always going to be there. Takes a village. Benedictine monk at Durham College in Oxford, where he gains a doctorate in theology in 1503. Oh, is he the one that came up with that phrase? I don't know. It bothered me when I remember when Hillary Clinton was pushing that phrase a lot, and the way that she was using it wasn't really a positive thing. There was a good article the other day. I forget what website it was on, but it was linked from Hot Air, which is one of the political blogs I read a lot. And there was just this whole thing about how um, probably the reason that so many people are turning to identity politics sort of things these days is because they don't have families. And there's kind of been this strange idea on the left that we don't need families anymore and that we should replace the family with the state. I think it's because I think the reason that we hear that a lot from people on the left is because they believe that conservatives are only conservative because they've been indoctrinated by their families. And they think that if you can just get them when they're young, then they'll have complete control, which I think is silly. But if Carl Jung is correct, then we have 16 different personality types. Our nature is our id, and our ego drives our personality, but our superego is our collective nurture and stored history and memories. Cognitive function stacks tell us which order we value or prefer to think or feel with. Well, sure. I think it's just like anything else, right? Reality will constantly and consistently defy categorization, and so I think you can set up a framework like 16 personality types that will be useful as a framework to work within to explain people's behavior in a good majority of circumstances. But there's still going to be enough exceptions to the rule and aberrations out there that you're going to run into it every day, you know? Synchronicity, everything is connected. Anyways, I kind of prefer to just look at a specific situation and just make the best decision that we can based on data that we have in that particular situation. Hmm. The ruby-throated hummingbirds are local to my area, and they wait patiently for their turn at the feeder. Really? That's kind of interesting. I haven't seen as many hummingbirds around this year as I would like. There's a lot of wasps, though. Have you guys getting a lot of wasps this year? I'm a little sick of the wasps. There are some hummingbirds from the Pacific. They are accidental tourists. I gotcha. Okay, so this is actually churning around a little bit here in the 10-year. Oh, by the way, I never mentioned, but now would probably be a good time to go into it, is Bitcoin yesterday had a really ugly fall. when I left it, it was just below 10,000. It looks like that has followed through, and now they are below 93. And the previous low was 94.95. So that means that they have made a lower low. Lots of spiders. That's interesting. Must just be out here in the west. Hmm. See, it's churning around a little bit, but at the moment they're kind of reaching higher. They're just sitting right there on the edge, waiting for somebody to push them over and push higher. Which is kind of interesting because we're having an update in equities. Still very interesting to me this move down in Bitcoin. Because the thing is, when you look at it, like for instance, this drop right here, or this drop, you know, in the past month, we've had much larger drops. But the Bitcoin community seems to care about this one more for some reason. I'm wondering if maybe somebody is turning on the propaganda press, trying to scare everybody out so that they can buy. But the issue with that is that you're starting to get into like unwind levels. Like people are going to start stopping out now. So many people bought above 10,000. All their gains are gone. Now they're going to start taking losses. Could be wrong, but that's just kind of what the levels on the chart says. Sometimes investors can be more stubborn than you'd expect. So that can always be wrong, but we have deer who wander around our yard, and the lake has otters, skunks, chipmunks. Now we see a bear, and we have a form of bobcat. We didn't have lizards in Florida. Bitcoin news, September 6th. What's coming on September 6th? I don't know. For some reason, though, they seem to care about this. MEP plan to trigger EU rule of law investigation into Boris Johnson's government over suspension of parliament. Yeah, so can we talk about, do we have any Euro guys on this morning? What do you guys think about this suspension of parliament thing? Because my read on it is that it's just a bunch of noise. That he's perfectly within his rights and that what's going on is expected. But the left is making big deal out of it. It seems like that's like their only chance to try and prevent Brexit. I think that they still believe that they're going to be able to prevent it. But they can't just like outright prevent it right now. The most that they can do is they can say, we want a deal and delay it again. And then when you can't get a deal, then just not have Brexit. I think that what Boris Johnson is doing is probably the way that I would do it. I would say, we're going to do it this day, no matter what. So if you don't give us a deal and we have a no deal Brexit, then it's your fault. That's the way because these guys don't want to make it, really would rather it not happen. So the only way to get a good deal is to force them by saying it's going to happen one way or another, and setting it up in such a way that you can't turn around halfway through. There's Ace. We could maybe get along here in the E-mini. I don't know. Popularity Matter says they need to just go through with it. I think it is an awful idea, but the people voted for it, right? I agree. Waxing philosophical this morning, wax on, wax off. I wouldn't really consider that philosophy. That's just policy and politics. Here's a philosophical. Okay, the closer the government is to the people, the better. This idea that we need to have really powerful national or multinational governments it's a terrible idea. The laws should be as local as possible, and you only have national laws for things that are really important, like freedom of speech, for instance. And so the entire idea of a European Union, and we're already seeing the problems. We are already seeing why the government is better left to local, because when you get this multinational government, it's not responsible to the people, and it does a lot of things that is extremely damaging to different groups, people. I'm looking to go short as usual. Mixed signal at 29.16.15. So here's the conundrum that I'm having, Ace. The reason that we moved up overnight was because of comments from China. And the comments from China are things that they technically have already said and don't really matter, and are frankly kind of taking a shot at the administration, right? Because they're saying we want to resolve this calmly. What they're really saying is the administration is being super crazy. Don't you understand, people? Your government, your government is acting irrationally because your president is a poo poo head, and you should just give up and let us win right now because your president is a poo poo head. That's what they're saying. It calms markets down for now, but does it really change the state of the trade war? No. So is it really a reason to be buying the S&P 500? I mean, obviously temporarily they're up, so who's going to fight it? But I think in the long run, it doesn't. You sell it unless you see something come along that actually changes the state of play with the trade war. So a sell, I think, makes sense. It's against the short term momentum. Where did you take it at, Ace? 29.14. Well, I mean the momentum is down. IMF gives China a cover to weaken the yuan further. Donald Trump, the economy is doing great with tremendous upside potential. If the Fed would do what they should, we are a rocket upward. I honestly, I get what he's doing, but I don't think that it works that way. I don't think that there's any advantage in constantly harping on the Fed like this. It's not going to change the what the Fed does. All it does is undermine public confidence in public institutions. Basically, you're playing to all of these people that think that the Federal Reserve is should be abolished, which is just a terrible, terrible idea. I would start with Epictetus. I don't even know how to say that. Epictetus. The people in a Stoic group I was in suggest him all the time. Well, I know who he is, and I think that for trading, it doesn't surprise me at all when I hear a trader talk about Stoicism. Absolutely. Don't you think? I think that all traders kind of fall into the Stoicism mindset a little bit. Popularity Matter says he is setting the Fed as the fall guy for if the bottom falls out. I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe that's what he's doing. I can't read his mind, so I don't know. And there's a couple of different possibilities, but I think that's a very, very likely one for sure. Is that he's doing it to so that, as a backstop on the election, so that if things fall out, he can blame the Fed and say it wasn't my fault that the economy fell. It was the Federal Reserve. And that's certainly going to be an effective argument for the majority of the Republican Party because they just don't like the Federal Reserve. Especially right now with the rates being low. Mm-mm. The simple idea is that we must understand and accept that we cannot control others' opinions, ideas, or decisions. Once we understand that, the hard part is living this and letting go. Sure. So let's watch this. We need to watch this spot. There was an iceberg there at 29.5. Is I think what caused this kind of behavior that we're seeing right now. 712. That might just be them getting out really early. I don't know. I'm thinking that this market has been really dull. I don't quite understand why we've been able to move up 13 ticks. But it could just be movement. And we're getting that spike there. That might just be exit before the open. So I don't want to take a trade here because of that. But if I was going to take a trade, I think that you would want to be going short. That's a pretty big imbalance that they just created there. I mean, look at it. That it's whole 13 ticks up, and they completely flipped that around in volume in just a few quick trades. UK Conservatives intend to call an election in November. Unionist voice editor Jamie Bryson cites unidentified DUP sources saying. He's going to step away. Ugh. I've been I've been feeling kind of sleepy late in the day lately. Not while I'm trading. I feel like really engaged right now. I wish that the market was doing something more interesting. Um, but I've been feeling tired, and I think that my gastrointestinal system is just like totally off balance right now. I don't know what's wrong with it. I must have some sort of an ulcer in my colon. I hate that politics doesn't have a radical and logical center, a group of problem solvers who aren't afraid to shake things up, but while not creating one sided political wins. No, well, the reason popularity matters that doesn't exist, there are many people that are trying to do that. I mean, there are think tanks out there. But the problem is that we as individuals have very strong biases. The truth of the matter is that there is not a single person on this planet that is, you know, composed and smart and logical enough to do that, let alone a whole group of people. We think that we are like that, but we're not. Think about me for a second. I don't want to hold myself up as like some thing. Okay, like this is going to sound at first like I'm speaking really well of myself, but it's not, right? I tend to be an incredibly logical person. I am very much like, okay, you have to prove it straight up, and this is what the burden of proof is, to prove something, and if you can't prove it, then we don't know. And I can't make a decision based off of that. Uh, I consider myself an extremely logical person. And I think that a lot of people like that about the stream, that we're not like constantly, this isn't like the bye 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 sort of a stream. You know what I mean? But I will tilt. I will tilt super bad. I'm wrong every day. Um, I will take trades against the trend, or whatever this, I'll take ill-informed trades based off of a long-term bias that I have, or a misunderstanding, or whatever the situation is. Okay? So that's markets. Then when you want to get into politics, I mean, the thing is, politics and markets are very similar, because you're talking about things that it's very difficult to know what's really going on underneath of the covers, because the system is so complicated. But the difference between what we do in politics is that what we do, plays out in 30-minute increments, and then we see an imbalance right now. Well, they are a tick lower. 29.5 was where you would have taken it, right? We're a tick lower. 30 minutes from now, we'll know if that was a really good trade or not, right? But politics, it can take decades, sometimes even hundreds of years, to understand the effects of a particular decision. So you're expecting a very emotional creature to make decisions with very little information on decisions that can affect you potentially for hundreds of years. Humans simply aren't designed to do that. They just aren't. We're not good at it. And so we do what we're good at. We revert to tribal politics. And so you have parties, and people stick with what their party says. That's the way people are. So this is why I'm always, there's a lot of people that say there should be a third party in the US, or, they always try and play the moderate line. It doesn't work. I'm just going to tell you right now, I've been doing this for a while, been really engaged in politics. I understand the system pretty well, and I feel like I understand people okay because of trading. And I'm just telling you, based off of everything that I understand about these systems and everything that I've seen about these systems, is that it doesn't work. If you want to change something, you have to go through the party, because people are fundamentally tribal. And so if you want to change something, what you have to do is you have to make yourself a part of the tribe, gain influence within the tribe, and then you can use that influence to try and influence the policy in a direction that you think is important. And you would probably have to do, like, one thing at a time. Okay, that's what Donald Trump did. Think about it. Okay, Donald Trump has fundamentally changed the Republican Party. He did it from the inside. He did it with the party. This is probably not, the most efficient way of doing things and everything, but that's just the way people are. Humans will look at the micro level and avoid the macro view. It's easier that way. Humans who see the future or the cause and effect are rational, but still have their nature or agenda to consider. Sure, yep. And it's almost impossible in a situation like that to really understand what your biases are. In trading, just imagine how difficult is it when you have a bias or you're wrong about something. Maybe there's something about the way that you trade that is just flat out wrong. And think about how hard it is to realize that. We collect all of these stats and everything, and then suddenly you go in and you say, "Oh, this thing that I thought was true is not actually true." Because you've collected all of this data, right? You can collect all this data and you can see almost immediately, okay, I took a trade and it was wrong. But in politics, people are very rarely forced to have to face the reality of their choices. They almost never are. Just think about the whole Russian collusion thing. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. And there was a big investigation and this big hysteria over it for 2 years, 3 years, really, right? And nothing happened from it. And then when you get down to the end of it, when it's pretty much unquestionable now that there's just no evidence of it, would you get Democrats at this point to admit that? No. They're still saying that he should be impeached. because every time that you get to the end of that, they'll say something. There will be something will happen that will give them an out. In this case, it was Barr. They say, "Oh, it's just Barr's fault that Congress didn't pursue it." That's what they'll say, right? You never have to face the music in politics. So it's pretty unlikely that will ever go in that kind of a direction. Politics is all feelings, beliefs, traditions, and winner-take-all mentality. Logic in politics seems to find its logical consistency based on party affiliation. Do you think that the Russians did not interfere in elections? They did interfere in our elections. I wouldn't use the word interfere. The Russians attempted to influence the American public during the election, and they did so very poorly and ineffectively. That's why it happened. They tried to do things, and it really didn't have an impact on anything. But and there was no collusion or certainly no quid quo pro with the Donald Trump campaign on it, which was what the investigation was about, and the thing that I was saying didn't happen. We did help Trump because he thought Trump would advance his cause. We know this much to be well. Okay, so that's another thing that I would be a little cautious about. Okay, so first of all, we can't read Russia's mind. So to sit down and say that we know why they did it is a little bit kind of. I mean, we do understand a little bit about what they were doing as well, though. Okay, the thing is that I think there's multiple reasons why they're doing it. I think one of the primary reasons why they're doing it is because they're trying to undermine American democracy. They're trying to make the United States a weaker nation by undermining people's confidence in the voting system, is what they're doing. And they're trying to make America a weaker democracy by undermining the people that are currently in power. So the reason why they wanted to help Donald Trump, it wasn't because they felt like Donald Trump was going to do a particular policy that they really wanted, or because he was actually a Russian asset, which is what the Democrat theory really was. They did it because they wanted to undermine Hillary Clinton primarily. So they helped Donald Trump primarily because he was Hillary Clinton's opponent. That's the main reason that they did it. They pushed um the challenger. And you watch when we get to the end of this election and we see the things that the Russians and the Chinese tried to do, you're going to find almost universally, although probably not, there will be instances the other way too, but I think that you're going to find that you're along 29, 16, 25. I can see it, but what was this spot right here? Oh, that was way back. Yeah, I don't know, Ace. This market just doesn't look too interested right now. But there are some important numbers tomorrow, so we might just be quiet until then. There is some news at the top of the hour too. Anyways, but at the end of all of this, you're going to find that in this election, they're primarily going to be trying to influence the American public against Donald Trump. And I think that when you go further into the future, for people that I can only speculate who's going to be running in for president in 8 years and 16 years. But if they are still playing this game, I think that you will find that they will be pushing whoever the challenger is every time. Probably. Yeah, the idea was not to do anything really other than sow chaos and develop division. They did this, and I can tell from the words that both sides use consistently to punch down on each other. Yeah. So the thing that's funny is that the troll farm in particular, that's the one that within the Russia investigation they primarily focused on, and like the guys that they are in court with or whatever, and fought back. The advertisements that they put out were really dumb, and they were intentionally bad. So basically, what they were is they were advertisements, pushing something like Black Lives Matter or whatever the thing was, but using incredibly dumb logic. And the advertisements were essentially there so that conservatives would look at them and go, ah ha ha, look at how dumb the liberals are. And that interesting that that's what their strategy was. I don't think that if you asked most people what the what the influence was, what the trolls actually did, I don't think that they would understand. I think that they would be surprised to look at what the ads actually were. Let's see here. I have an enormous amount of time, and I've always followed politics. I read history that has been around for every president. Like, gosh, that sounds old. I see things a bit differently. Well, yeah, I've just noticed here in my own short 16 years or whatever that I've been watching politics that it's we're already running around in circles, it feels like. One thing that I do see consistently is that the conservatives, especially the evangelicals, do not listen to him. I assume meaning Trump, read his tweets or watch his speeches, rallies, or pressers. Then the people tell me they know him. How can they know him and not listen to his words? So when they come from him, I do this regardless of the policy, president, or point. It's interesting. I don't know. That probably really depends on the group of people that you're talking to. Right. The majority of Americans, you're right, they don't. Looks like that trade would have worked out. I would say it was a really good signal. Normally, I would take that. It's just today's such terrible context, because otherwise, even with 15 minutes, I think it would maybe be worth taking. And that said, 6 ticks it worked, but I can't say that it was like, oh, I wish I had taken it. I think I'm okay that I didn't take it. Um, it's a throw the baby out with the bathwater. We lost trading partners and long negotiated plans and ideas. We start over and we lose good people who were doing good business serving their. And he says that he erases loss. Good job. Well, the China trade war thing is an interesting thing. I mean, honestly, unless we get like a good trade deal, and honestly, to me, it's kind of starting to look like we're just going to sit in this situation for a long time, and that this could be a back and forth thing for a decade or several decades. And at some point, the market is probably going to stop caring about it because it will be sufficiently hedged. In fact, I'd say that they're probably close to that. Um, but if that's the situation and this continues on for a long time, everybody kind of misses out because there's all of that business between the United States and China that could have been there that won't be. And China in particular loses a lot because so many countries are going to say, I just don't want to deal with Vietnam. And they're going to move somewhere else. I mean, that's the whole thing, is that this is all designed to put pressure on China so that they make a deal. If China doesn't make a deal, then it hurts everyone, but most of all it hurts China. So I don't understand why they would want to go through with that for the things that they're trying to keep. They don't want to fix their intellectual property laws and things like that. And I'm sitting here like, okay, is it really worth it? You're not able to steal from the Americans anymore. Is it worth decades of this? But of course, they don't think that that's what's going to happen. They think that they're going to elect somebody else and then it's just going to go away. I think that's a terrible miscalculation. But hey, you know what? It's the kind of miscalculation that communists make every time. But in terms of people listening to Donald Trump, if you go to the Donald subreddit, those people, they love it. They watch every rally that he does. They watch every news conference that he does. You can go to the White House news channel and they're live almost every day. And you can follow in real time almost everything that he says. And the strongest Donald Trump supporters do that and absolutely love it. And that's why they're always, so mad about the media, because they're sitting there watching these things in real time, and then the media comes out and says, "Oh, Donald Trump is said X," and they're like, "Well, I was live, and that's not what happened. I watched it live, and that's not what happened." There's a lot of those people, and honestly, um, most people on the other side of the aisle, they're certainly not watching it. They're just catching what they hear on the news, and then the news perspective of it is always skewed. And in my observation, the Donald subreddit is dangerous for your computer browser. No, it's been quarantined because I really don't think that it was justified that they quarantined the subreddit. But there's nothing wrong with that subreddit. Mm-mm. I run with pretty heavy security measures, and I'm using an ultra private web browser, multiple virus checkers. I scan every day. And I've never even so much as gotten like a call to a malicious ad server from the links on that website on that subreddit. I get them all the time though when I go to r/politics, because most of those websites are trying to put like tracker uh, tracking cookies on you. Most corporate websites. But I digress. Those are harmless, but my software will flag it still. Mm. Oh, I missed this tweet from Donald Trump. Farmers are going to be so happy when they see what we are doing for ethanol, not even including the E15 year round, which is already done. It'll be a giant package. Get ready. At the same time, I was able to save the small refineries from certain closing. Great for all. They really fall back here. And now it's 7:35 and we're getting a really, really, really big turn. And the E-mini is turning too. Yeah, I don't think I regretted taking the last one, but the last signal was really good. This one looks like an even bigger signal. Oh, it's doing it across the board too. It's interesting to me though that what's causing it is an iceberg at 25.5. It's an iceberg on the offer. It might be able to push down a little bit lower first. They weren't able to go any higher on the other side, but I mean, man, if you put it there at 25, I think it's going to be really hard to get filled there. Google Project Alakia and the IRA to understand more about the invasion of our social media. Oh, I'm just saying. I think the social media from the very beginning has been manipulated. That's the thing that I find so amusing about all of this. Everybody's like, the Russians are manipulating this and that. And I'm like, okay, guys, like, the Democrat Party has been blatantly manipulating everything that you see on social media from the beginning. And I mean, like, from the day Facebook was out there, that stuff has been going on. People forget, Reddit, or sorry, Dig, which was what existed before Reddit, almost single-handedly brought the Huffington Post to prominence. And then the Huffington Post played an extremely, extremely pivotal role in helping Barack Obama defeat Hillary Clinton. Okay? That was the true meddling in an election. Nobody ever talks about that. That was 8 years ago. 10 years ago now, really. Right? So we've Donald Trump's been going through for 2-3 years. Why does nobody ever talk about that? And were there really that many people out there completely trusted what they were seeing in social media for that whole 10 years? When I have to tell you, a lot of what you were seeing that whole time was bunk. Another good example, the Covfefe thing. Have you guys read about the Covfefe thing with Google? Covfefe actually does mean something. We all thought that it was just a spelling mistake, but it actually is an Arabic word. And Donald Trump had just come back from Saudi Arabia. And so it appears that probably was correct that he was repeating something that he heard while he was in Saudi Arabia. And Google intentionally hid its meaning. Like, they went into Google Translate and removed the word from Google Translate and hid it in all of the search results so that people wouldn't be able to find out what Covfefe actually meant from Google. Can you believe that? That has just got to be like the most blatant, underhanded manipulation by a company in a political matter. That's Google. That's something that almost everybody saw. Why are you so concerned about some Russians put up an ad on Facebook that was retarded? Huh? Why don't I ever hear anybody from the Democrats complaining about the blatant bias and censorship and manipulation by Google? Honestly, people, everything that you see online, there's every person that interacts in online social media is doing it to influence other people. the vast majority of that activity is people just trying to build up their accounts so that they can exert their own influence on something else later. It's all manipulated. hmm I love the word kafefi. Kafefi with a hamburger order, please. The idea kafefi is fun for the code breakers. I tried. No. It's an Arabic word that means I will persist. Is apparently what it means. And when you look at his tweet, the original tweet, because he said despite the fake news media kafefi, so despite the fake news media, I will persist. It totally makes sense. Everybody said that it was just nonsense at the time. Have you been to the subreddit for the code breakers or puzzle people? Not puzzle people, but I do think I recall seeing the code breakers subreddit on all a few times. I'm not subscribed to it. Well, we got a down tick, two down ticks. I was a little afraid of that happening. Um, it may still move up. You can get that one, and they can keep going for two ticks sometimes, but that could also mean that they're just going to try and push it down below us. Okay. That turned really quickly, and then back down really quickly. I should do this because of the way it's churning. If I can be so lucky. They're having a hard time getting the volume. What game is this? Well, we're trading. We're trading the application that this is called Jigsaw Day Trader. I guess it's not really a game, is it? I wish that they had better. They should just have a trading category. But of course, I'm the only person on Twitch that does it. So, well, I take that back. There are a few cryptocurrency people, but I don't think that they're quite doing what I'm doing. I wonder if everyone remembers that AOZ and the four are not running for president. They're being scapegoated, and I do not like that, regardless of their ideas or opinions. Scapegoated. Uh, I mean, in what way are they being scapegoated? Because I don't think that they're being blamed for anything. I think that he's just pointing at them and saying that they're crazy. I do as well. I've made a ton of gold on WoW using this. I hear that WoW Classic is a thing again now. Is that correct? I saw a picture on Reddit the other day. All of these people were playing WoW Classic again, and there were so many people that you had to wait in line to do a certain quest raid, which is funny because I remember when they made the what is it, the Skyrim, the Skyrim, the Skyrim MMO. That was one of the things that everybody hated about it, was that you could see everybody else going through doing the same quests that you were, and it was like, why is it even an MMO? But I didn't realize that WoW was like that too in some respects. There's wrong. How's it going? They're being misrepresented as being against America. Well, yeah. Uh, I would say they seem to be against some pretty fundamental principles that many people on the right believe are fundamental to America. It really doesn't like me today. That's because I got in and I refused to just take the loss. Now they're going to chop it around on me. They're like, nope, Seth, we're going to stop you out first. I guess I can just do that because they're almost destined to try and take me out here. And now when I put that in, they're not going to tick back up again, huh? Come on. How much money have you made to date from trading? Well, so last year I lost a little bit. Did it take me out at 3? No. Such crap. I lost a little bit last year. I made a decent amount this year, but then I wasn't. I still had some problems in my strategy, so I stopped. Um, right now, the summer is usually not very good trading, so we're not trading live right now. I'm plan on maybe taking some live trades after Labor Day, but we'll see. So right now, today, this is like rollover week, so you kind of can't necessarily expect to be, always win this week. It's going to be particularly tough trading. And you can see there, though, how they mess with you. It's like they give you a good signal and it continues through. Chops and continues through lower. It sucks. Probably should have waited. And then maybe here at 22.5, I could have been getting in instead of having to double down or something. But yeah, if you watch me today and you're like, well, it doesn't seem to be doing very well, because just realize that the probability is I'm not going to do very well today because of the context. We tend to do better when there's good reasons for people to be trading and they're overextending themselves a lot. So that gives us a lot of turns to play. Today, we are moving up. Of course, the E-mini is moving up, but it looks a little conflicted today. So you tend to get a lot of really random order flow, and sometimes our signals, probability on our signals isn't as good in that situation. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, the 4-horse woman of the apocalypse or whatever. No, the thing is they're portrayed as anti-American. It's because those are all things that conservatives view as anti-American. Of course, they wouldn't say that I dislike the U.S. government or I dislike living in America. They just think that I would like to change it, right? But you got to understand that from the conservative perspective, and quite frankly, they're right, that America is basically the anti-communist country. That's what America is. And America has basically always been the free market capitalism place. It's like it's not the place that you live if you want to be like the most, you just kind of want to relax and do your thing. Okay? Go live in a Scandinavian country. You'll be much happier if that's what you're looking for. America is for the hustlers. America is the place where if you have an idea, you can work hard and put your idea out there. And if you happen to be lucky, you can become rich from it. It's for risk takers. That's what America is about. I shouldn't say that that's what it's about, but that's historically been the most characteristic thing about America has been risk taking. And those particular politicians don't like that. They're trying to change that. And so from my perspective and many conservatives, it is that they don't like America. because it's like they're trying to change the most fundamentally defining characteristic of it. So that's why they say that. I don't think it's unfair. Well, I mean, I suppose it's when you're talking to people that aren't very politically engaged and they've been influenced by uh, propaganda surrounding them, then I suppose in that respect you could say that it's unfair. But anyways, I think we'll see someone like Huntsman or Nikki appear on the scene as a challenger, but it will need to be an evangelical or true believer who can speak to their values, not authority appeal. I don't know if any more about that one. There's been a shift in the evangelicals that it seems to me that Democrats are really confused about. So you constantly see stories about like, oh well, evangelicals have always been about moral issues and principles, and yet they support Donald Trump. Well, I'll tell you what happened. It was they were all about values and principles, and they went for the most pious person that they saw, who was Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz basically lied to them. He basically lied to them and pulled all sorts of dirty tricks during the primary. And when that happened, evangelicals said, you know what? I'm tired of trying to find the most pious um, politician out there to try and, pick a man of God to be our leader and hope that having a righteous person in office will lead to better decisions. Because it seems like every time that we try to do that, we get suckered. So I'm just going to vote for the guy that says that he's going to give me what I want. That's what happened. And you know what? They voted for that guy and he's been doing what they want and they're quite happy with it. And so I do not think that evangelicals will be affected by, you know, the person coming out and saying, I'm a strong Christian man and with these principles and things like that. I don't think they'll do that anymore. They're going to go for the person that does what they want, that voices the policies that they say the best, probably in the future. Well, I don't know why I took that one. Now I saw something. Now I'm looking at it and I don't see why I took it. So mm, I was once on the right. The issue is that we don't have free markets. We also have a mixed economy. The issue with what you're saying is that they are not against the aspect that you presented. Are they? Wait, so in my opinion, um, they want America to become a more socialist economy. Is that incorrect? Every policy that they've ever pushed that I've read has been socialist. Did you go to BYU? No, I did not. Oh my. Well, the E-mini is risk on. And they're above, well, nope, they're not quite above all of the China trade war stuff, are they? And they'd have to get above 29, 36, 25. So it should also add, maybe we are. We're probably close to where inversion is at. Socialist. First, set aside the idea that this is a campaign slogan to frighten traditional people. No, I'm just saying when you so let's think about what are some of the problems that they have. Okay, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez most famous policy was the Green New Deal, in which she basically said that we fundamentally need to revamp our entire economy around green energy, with like a new socialist green energy economy, essentially, right? An economy where the government is basically in charge of all of the investment, and they do all of the investment and give it to people to invest in green energy, billions of dollars, right? So that's a very common refrain that we see, is that we need to accept socialism so that we can tackle climate change. They want healthcare. Okay, they want a socialized healthcare system, don't they? Right? So there's an argument in the Democrat Party right now about how to provide better healthcare, and some Democrats would like to see a public option, but not to get rid of people's current health insurance. And those particular senators, they just want to ditch the whole thing, and they want to have a socialized healthcare system like Great Britain. It's a socialist system. That doesn't turn us into socialists. It means we have a larger social safety net that can occur at the same time as capitalism. Well, no, I mean, it is a socialist program. Let's make no. They're pushing socialist programs, no question. And the whole thing, as I'm saying, is that in the United States, we've only done socialist programs that we had to. Okay, like Social Security is a good example, because Social Security without it was such a disaster. They had to do something about it. Um, and I think that they tried very, very hard before that with pensions and everything to try and fix the problem with free market solutions. It just didn't work. Healthcare is a totally different thing, because healthcare worked really well for a really, really long time, and then government kind of came in and screwed things up. This wasn't a problem when I was a kid. Certainly a worse problem now after Obamacare, because they put it in and then they rescinded half of it, and this is just totally a big mess right now, right? But another thought. Why don't I ever hear them championing free markets? If you look at Scandinavia, they have very good ideas, and they have a much better infrastructure and better schools than we do. Well, there are a lot of great things about Scandinavian countries too. Sure. But there are other countries, for starters, they're in a different situation. And number two, they're not America. Like, that's the thing, is that America has been the country where if you don't want socialist policies, you go. That's the whole thing, is that America always does the free market approach, and then we only go away from that when we have to, basically. And even then, I think a lot of people would say that we wouldn't have done it if they would change those things if they could. A lot of people want to get rid of those sorts of things. And I'm just saying, if you like the Scandinavian countries, why would you live in the United States? Why would you live in a country that has been fundamentally founded on principles that are directly opposed to what you're talking about? Mm-mm. The country's been very lazy for a long time. We've been greedy, and the world is getting better. No, it's not. Sorry. Well, hold on a second. Isn't the whole thing that we're seeing here in the markets right now, this is all happening because everywhere else is shit, and they're all bringing their money over to America because they're scared? They're scared to death of this recession in Germany. They're bringing, and we're saying that the world is getting better. It's just, look, American capitalism has been extremely successful and is still extremely successful. And you can't say And I wouldn't say that it's perfect. Of course, there's positives and minuses to every system. But I'm just saying that America is the one place in the world where if you are a risk taker, that country is geared towards you being able to take on risk. That is fundamentally the most defining characteristic of America. And if you don't like that thing, you should not live in America. If you like socialist policies, you should live in a country that's has socialist policies as a stronger basis of their country and their history. Do you think we should offer a hand up? Uh, it depends. It depends on what you're offering to do. Okay. I don't think that giving to go to a different person. Let's talk about something that I don't think is questionable. Okay. Because healthcare is kind of, a really complicated issue. Okay. um, I don't think that we should give everybody $1,000 a month. I think it's a stupid idea. I think that it is fundamentally un-American. Fundamentally un-American. You start doing that, you rob America of the thing that makes it special and successful. And I'm just saying, it's just like you need different types of people around the world, right? If America is a risk-taking country, we should be a country that champions free markets every time. And the beauty of it is that if you don't like that idea, you can go and live in a country that has ideas that you like. That does not happen when you offer one socialized program, but it is okay. But hold on, because we're talking about you. Well, the $1,000 you're definitely socialists at that point, right? But with healthcare, come on, you're talking about ripping an entire industry. This is a huge part of the U.S. economy, guys. And you're saying that all of these health insurance companies, they're going to be illegal. And now all of these healthcare providers around the country, everybody all of your doctors, and now they can only be paid by the government. Okay. And you're saying, okay, you are talking about the largest socialist intervention into what was previously a free market in history. So don't tell me that it doesn't, come on. Come on. And I say we should solve these problems with American ideas. We had a successful healthcare system, and we've made some of the greatest advances in medical science in history because of free market capitalism. So how about we actually create a real free market in healthcare first? Okay. And that means that we have to actually be able to see the prices. Isn't it funny that Donald Trump signed an executive order? Everybody kind of missed this thing, but he signed an executive order so that they have to put their prices out somewhere, right? Like, honest, come on. Healthcare wasn't even a free market before. People actually can see what the prices are. They should force you to offer the same price to everybody, quite frankly. I hate this thing where you make a deal with an insurance company and they give them a price, but then they give everybody else a price, and then the price of this is based on the price that everybody else gets, and so then you're not actually getting a discount, and it's all just games, it's smokes and mirrors to hide the fact that it's not a real market. And then we turn around and we say, oh, look, the free market's not working. No, make it a free market first. Let them make it a free market. Allow competition along state lines. Give price transparency and allow free markets to work. People will develop innovations to make these services cheaper and still make money and things like that. Okay. And then when you've done all that and you've had a real free market and that doesn't work, then maybe we can talk about, again, maybe we need to have some government intervention into it. But it seems to me that people just want it because it's a socialist program or something. And I honestly, I'm not too enthralled by what I've been seeing about their program in the UK. And even in Canada, there's some issues with it. And America is a much larger country than any of these other places. Okay, so there's a big thing. Okay, now we're getting honest here. I don't care if an idea is American or not. I agree that UBI is not a very good idea. It has nothing to do with our economic tradition, but everything to do with we don't want to create idle people. Okay, well, so now you're just, so now you're just kind of admitting my point now, though, aren't you? It's because we're saying, yeah, they do want a policy that is fundamentally un-American from my perspective. Because if I'm going to say the defining characteristic of American democracy is free market capitalism that allows risk taking, and if we are pushing a policy that doesn't do that, then we're basically calling to fundamentally change America. So then at that point, how can you not say that it's not an American idea? But that's just the whole point, is that it's like, it's a nice thing that America is not the only country in the world, and that America is not the only country in the world that has freedoms now. It used to be that we were the only country with freedom, right? Now there's lots of countries in Europe that give you a lot of freedoms. They don't give you as many freedoms as the United States does, but that's because that's the United States thing, is free market capitalism. We give everybody the freedom to do what they want. But if you want to live in a country where people don't have the freedom to create a business that provides health care insurance for people, then there are a lot of countries out there that do that. And I don't understand why we have to do it here in the United States. Because the reason that I live here in the United States is because we don't have that. If we don't have that anymore, why should I live here? Why wouldn't I just, at that point, I should be saying, oh, well, maybe I should just go and move to the country that has the best benefits then. But no, I live in the United States because it has the ideas that I like, and they're enshrined in the Constitution. Okay. And this goes to another part, is that I honestly think that a nationalized healthcare system, as it is being pushed by Bernie Sanders and AOC and them, which is one where you can't have a healthcare, not the public option thing. The public option thing would probably be okay, but there's other problems with that. But the whole idea that we would banish everybody from doing healthcare insurance, it's not constitutional, in my opinion. And I don't think it will hold up in courts, frankly. But that's a different discussion. But anyways, I don't think, I think it's a fair thing to say. And it's fair for you, American Matters, to say, I don't care if an idea is American or not. So you can say, if it's a good idea, then it's a good idea and we should do it. That's totally a legitimate perspective. That's just not the way that I look at it. And of course, the way that I look at it is because there's that one thing that I'm really, really care about. And there's only one place in the world that I can get it right now. And I'm concerned that everybody's trying to destroy it. With healthcare, I don't agree. Completely replacing the private insurance, because that would kill 300,000 jobs. I do think creating some program for the working poor is the right way to go. Okay, sure. Well, I mean, there's lots of ways of doing it, right? There's not a free market solution to providing healthcare for the working poor. We have a free market healthcare for the most part right now, and it doesn't work for that cohort. Yeah, I don't know. But there's some real imbalances in that market with the way that it's set up, for sure. Man, that's a big iceberg right there. So here we had one to the downside, and now we're having one long. I would have liked to have taken the one to the downside, but I missed. And the whole thing is just kind of iffy. Kind of think that they're going to tick through me. Did they eat? Well, the E-mini did come down a little bit. That's curious. We'll see what it does. 7K iceberg, they break through it. I don't like trying to hold something like that, but I'm just trying to go along with what my thing says. So, I don't know. Anyways, don't mistake the quality of medical research and advancement as being the same as access. Well, yeah, so this is true. I'm just saying that the system that we've had has created very, very good quality medical research, for sure. But even for the people, for poor people, like that's the thing. There's so like healthcare is such a complicated issue. I tell you what, because I work for a healthcare exchange and in healthcare insurance, especially when you get into like Medicare and there's Medicare and Medicare Advantage plans, and oh, it's so complicated. And the people that do this in the call center, I mean, they're just average people. They're call center workers, really. But like all of the certifications, they have to be like certified to be able to sell insurance in every state. It's crazy the stuff that you have to know to do this. It's a lot of knowledge for a call center job, really. And I tell you what, it's a complicated thing. And there's so many places where we could go in and we could change something. For instance, Mitt Romney was the one that came up with the idea where, you know, we have we allow everybody to be able to buy private insurance, and then the people that can't afford private insurance, they just paid for it, and they thought that worked really well. I'm not so sure that it actually ended up working so well. I think I heard there were some problems with it. I should do some research on that. But that's one idea. There's lots of ways that you could do it that could solve that problem without having to completely take it over. And you say you agree that we don't want to just completely get rid of the industry. That's good. But I'm just telling you, that's the big fight in the Democrat Party right now is some people just want to completely get rid of it. The problem that they're having, like the problem Kamala Harris had, was that she doesn't want to just completely get rid of it, but she still wants to be progressive, and they're kind of conflicting. They're kind of conflicting. And so she's changed her plan like a bunch of different times, and nobody trusts her anymore. But that's the fight. Understand, a good portion of the Democrat Party, and the further left you go, the more likely they are to say that we should just completely get rid of that industry. Insurance companies' acceptance of risk will not change that much because competition would still be unaffordable for the working poor. That might be true, but it may be the case that for the working poor, we just have to pay for it. But I think right now, from my perspective, if I was a policymaker in that spot, and I wouldn't say that it's my area of expertise, but because I work for it, I know a little bit about it. And the thing that I would be trying to take care of right now is just the cost of everything in general. Costs of healthcare is just straight up more than it should be. And we should be going in and trying to address the market imbalances that cause that first. And then when we've brought prices down and we can say prices are reasonable, then maybe we might be able to see clearly enough to see what can we do for people that still can't afford it, even though it's a lot cheaper. Only person promoting UBI is Yang. Yeah, no, you're totally right. Although I would be careful with that one, because I think there's plenty of people out there in the Democrat Party that would promote UBI if they thought that they could win with it. That's the thing with Andrew Yang, is that Andrew Yang is the only person in the Democrat Party naive enough to think that he can win an election campaigning on it. maybe he doesn't actually think he can win an election on it, but he just wants to make it. He wants to push the conversation is probably more likely. But who's to say? What discussions with Harris have you listened to where she talks about her plans? Did you listen to her on CNN or when she talked about? Well, no, I was reading like the press releases, right? So she put out a plan, and there was a big press release and everything about it. And then, if my memory serves me correctly, she put out like a completely different plan, and this was kind of all around the last debate. So she's like contradicted herself. It's a big part of why she's been hurt. Although I wonder if it's the marijuana thing. You know what I'm talking? Like when Tulsi came in and hit her on doing that, and a lot of minorities said, "Oh, she was smoking weed while she was running around arresting my friends for doing the same thing." I don't want that person as president. And a lot of people hypothesize that that's why she's fallen so hard, but I don't know. I haven't seen any polling around that, so who knows? You understand that a lot of people who are for some form of socialized medicine are behind those ideas for other people and not themselves, telling them to just leave is stupid. Well, now I'm just listen, if you're for other people and you really think that socialized healthcare would be the best thing for them, why why wouldn't it be okay to tell them to move to another country if that's what's best for them? What is it? Or here's the other question: what is it about the United States that makes you want to stay? And because that's where I was born isn't a good reason, right? I think you should live somewhere that you should have a logical reason for it. If you don't have a logical reason for it, then you might want to take a step. So I lived over in Salt Lake. I don't live in Salt. I live north of Salt Lake now, and I lived in West Valley, and I lived there because that was where I was able to find a house with an acceptable um, travel time, with the like the price and the the prospects and everything that I wanted. I'm getting a big signal in ZB. Um, and so I lived there for a while, and you know what? It did not have the things that I wanted. There was things about the way that they were doing things there that I didn't like. Things that they were spending their money on that I didn't like. The way that their schools were that I didn't like. And so I moved. I moved back to where I grew up and where they do pretty much everything the way that I would like to see a city run. And I'm happier living here than I did when I lived there. And I just, everybody has this idea that I should just continue living where I am because I don't know, like you have some inbuilt loyalty to the country because you were born in there. And I'm just saying, listen, if you believe in America because you were born and that's why you have your loyalties here, I don't think that you're really cut out for America. Because America was not founded on the principle of an ethnic identity or a place or anything of that sort. It was founded on a set of ideals that are enshrined in the Constitution. And if you think that we should be doing something that is fundamentally opposed to those ideals within that Constitution, I say that you probably don't belong in America and you would be happier living somewhere else. Mm-mm. Need more of a German style system with both private and socialized? I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to say what it really should be. I say here's a couple of policies that we could implement right now that would probably reduce costs. They're kind of starting to do some of it. Allowing transactions across state lines is a big one that I think would make a big difference. Let's get those out first, and then kind of I'm kind of a little bit more of an incremental, like, okay, let's do this little thing, see the impact that it has on the market, and then maybe we can change something else and see how it goes. Because, again, we're talking about systems that are so complicated and that are so difficult to see the effects of. You go in and you completely revamp the system. How can you say you're never going to find the correct thing if you're always just completely revamping everything? It's better to do small incremental changes. Mm. There's an interesting thing about people in the neighborhood. It's the law of your neighborhood. Ask people if the world is bad, and they may say yes. Ask them if the neighborhood is bad. Any adjective, noun, person, place, or thing, but the idea is that we, the outside world, are scary as our world is safe enough to stay. Yeah, I don't know. I just, a lot of people, we make decisions based on things that are not based on logic or what we think is the best for us, but because, you know, you tend to have an inbuilt loyalty to where you were born because you view that as your tribe. See, I think that somebody like AOC looks at it as, well, this is the system that I think is the most efficient, and so I think that for our people that we should use that because that's the best system. And I'm just saying that's not what America, that's not the basis for America, right? Because if you sit down and you're going based off of that, why wouldn't you use Chinese style communism at that point? No. Although the idea of America was that we'll just give people the maximum freedom and we'll protect them from the government with a constitution and let things be free. Now, if we as a country collectively agree that, hey, we all want to participate in the same healthcare program, that would totally be okay. But once you start saying uh, you can't start a company of this kind and that sort of a thing, then you're stepping over the line. So a public option would probably be okay. I don't think that it would be very effective. But that's a different, I don't know if we really want to get into that. I will only say that the problem when you get a public option is that then they will start skewing the market to benefit the government entity that is involved in that market, right? So this is how you get Fannie and Freddie Mae, right? And we can all see what a disaster that was. So do we really need to create another disaster in the healthcare arena? That's why I'm a little concerned about a public option. But that's, again, it's a complicated thing. So I'm probably starting to speak outside of my knowledge at that point. Well, the humid is kind of coming back up again, and I'm getting a pretty good iceberg there. We did pop up a little bit, and then back down. I don't know. It did give me a long, but it's not really going. Turn Medicare into a buy program at a discounted rate for the working poor under 40K. Greg says all of us day traders would qualify. Well, yeah, I mean, it's the health insurance thing is a pretty big problem for day trading, isn't it? I mean, honestly, part of the problem was that we we got ourselves shoehorned into this system where you basically get your insurance through your employer, right? That's the real originator of the problem. I think part of the problem, part of why Obamacare ended up not working so much is because it didn't take us away from that. You know, you still get your health insurance through your employer, and they basically just said, well, um, if you lose your health insurance through your employer, there shouldn't be any way to penalize you. Whereas before, and in order to stay covered, you had to buy the Cobra. And if you didn't buy the Cobra, which was ridiculously expensive, then you would have to pay this elevated price for a year, which was just financially devastating to some people. Kind of an edge case, but it kind of sounds like it was pretty common. So I would say that you want to get away from employer coverage, but apparently nobody wants that. Apparently having to buy your own insurance and pay for it yourself is too much for most people. Popularity Matter says, I don't think Yang believes he can win. He's running as an idea generator. I don't know. I'll tell you this much. His fans sure seem to believe, don't they? His fans definitely believe. I don't know. I have yet to meet an Andrew Yang supporter that I thought really knew what they were talking about. I guess my interactions with him have been limited, but I remember when I made that video about him doing really poorly in the debate, I thought that the responses that I got back from people was like the least intelligent group of people I had ever met in politics. I was just absolutely flabbergasted that these people were. It just seemed to me like people that knew literally nothing about politics or the world trying to push this guy because he's giving them money. And that was literally like what they were saying was like, don't you want $1,000 a month? And I'm like, oh, man, it was a really weird experience. I don't think the working poor will move just for healthcare. They aren't going to uproot their family and leave their country for that reason. I mean, well, probably not, but that's because most of the working poor believe in free market capitalism. They think that if they work hard and they take the risks that they can do well. And you can. There's a little bit of luck involved, of course. A lot of bit of luck involved. But most poor people think that that can be them. And a lot of people that are poor, have a lot of other problems and things, beliefs ingrained into the way that they were raised that are probably holding them back. So you're right, they probably are unlikely to move. But, if you start saying it, there's some mass migration because to the country that has the best healthcare plan, I don't know. I guess we would be in a very difficult spot in the world. And we already kind of are because of this, but especially if everybody in civilized countries started migrating to where they liked the benefits from that country the most, yeah, that would cause some real problems, wouldn't it? But if you're not poor, I would say that you should absolutely live at the place that most closely matches your ideals. 10:30 Eastern time in 1 minute. Is there some news there at that time? Sorry. There was something at 8:30, right? Oh, natural gas storage. Missed the pending home sales. I forgot about that. That was negative 2.5 versus 0.1. That might be why, well, we didn't really move anywhere from there, though. That's interesting. Pretty big iceberg at 22.5, but it's not causing the same kind of the working of the bids and offers that the other spots did. Nope, just the halves. Gotcha. Competition across state lines has been argued for 20 years. It is unlikely to work for the people who have the most need. Well, like I said, I don't think that that's like a grand solution to it or anything, right? That's just one thing that I can see where there's a problem in the market that I think would reduce costs for a lot of people. And
if we implement a lot of reforms like that. Tort reform is another good one. Tort reform just needs to happen anyways. That goes beyond healthcare. Um, price transparency laws, a couple of things like that would go a long way towards helping the price. And then when we sit there, I feel like that at that point, some of the correct solutions would be more clear to us. One of the ways that I like to think of it. This might be silly and might not make sense to everybody here, but I play video games. I like to play video games, and I tell you what, the most frustrating thing in video games right now is meta. Meta is a thing in trading too, although for some reason nobody in trading ever talks about it. But in video games, you know, there are different classes and different units with different properties. And so many of our games are not based on equal characters of the same properties going up against each other. That would be boring. No, there's different classes, and it's the interaction between those classes that makes things interesting. But the downside of that kind of system is that some characters will be more powerful than other characters. And so you get into this thing where it's like in Overwatch, for instance, um, you know, the tanks were too tanky, so everybody was just running only tanks. So they tried to make all of the damage characters stronger so that they could take down the tank characters faster. And then they changed something so that um, you're limited on how many of each character you can have. So now you have to have two tanks, two DPS, and two healers. And that completely changed everything, right? And so now that they've changed that particular thing, now you can go in and you can see, oh, okay, the damage characters, it's too easy to kill people now. There's some problems here. We need to adjust things now that you can only have so many tank characters. And I've seen some games where they'll see something, and Overwatch is actually probably one of the worst offenders, where they'll see something and they're like, okay, this particular thing is a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this thing weak, and we're going to make everything that counters it really strong. And then essentially that thing is like removed from the game. You don't use it anymore. It gets nerfed into the ground, and then something else becomes crazy popular, and they have to fix that. And because you're constantly changing the game, so the way the game is played like fundamentally changes every month, and people get tired of it. And they give up and they stop playing. And people might have liked the way that it was at one patch, and now it's not as fun anymore, so they stop playing because of that. It's much better when you're a developer and you're making balance changes. Make a very small change. You sit and you look at, okay, what is the biggest problem? Okay, I'm going to adjust that particular thing that is the biggest problem by just a little bit. Wow. And then see what happens and take it from there. And if they did that, they would work a lot better. And developers that have done that, like when Blizzard was balancing Brood Wars, that's the approach that they took. And it worked really, really well. And that's probably the most balanced game out there. Although it has some pretty big imbalances itself too, but they work around it. The people just play around it. They're fine with it. So that was a really wild move there. I'm wondering. Trump made up high level phone calls with China to boost markets, aides admit report. Yeah. Interesting. Greg says holding. Are you what? So what is your position? You have a long in treasuries. So what's with this? How long has that been like that? That just showed up. You should feel your sinus. Oh, talking about acupuncture. Sorry, I missed that. Hold on, we gotta pay attention to this. This is really kind of really weird. Why so many offers? Hmm. I'm the only 3 lot on the Dom at 07. Oh, really? Wait. You sold those 3? Oh, dude. I always that is like the most tilting thing I think is when there's like stops or something and like only one trades there and then they go the other direction and you're like the one person that ended up putting an order in there and you know that you were in the wrong spot. Oh, I'm sorry, dude. Greg says, yeah, dude, that's ugh. And like that's the thing that really sucks about a market like this is it seems like it's kind of almost what the fuck is going on. There is some news out there for sure. The E-mini is selling. I don't understand why our treasury is not buying up higher, but somebody knows something. This was a really weird setup. I held it because it looked like they were going to go through that, but now they're selling everything. Why? Why? I'm just going to hold it and hope, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, there you go. Should have just panicked and gotten out earlier. What is this? I still don't see anything on Twitter. This is nuts. I'm just going to put this like way out of the way because I'm going to have to play this by ear. And don't quite understand what's going on. ECB's not said there is no need to resume QE program right now. That can't be it. What was that? Greg says there's nothing on his news feeds either. It's totally there's totally some news that hasn't hit Twitter yet. Absolutely. Okay. Well, it's mostly recovered it and reversed now. I don't know. Stocks not happy that the ECB may not buy them? Hmm. So that's just balanced area and just getting out. I could still go for more. Not the ZB I signed up for. So did you get a winner out of that, dude? You held it and it went down. If you got a winner out of that, I am extremely impressed. You got a little bit lucky, but the execution on that. Hmm. So at the moment, it did give me an out, and it's going a little bit too wild. So we kind of have to take a step back here. I've spent the last 3 weeks getting my month back to even. Man, no, but did you get a winner on that one? Did you get the sell and then take the sell off, or maybe it's still in it? Alligator says yes, looks like replacing stirs, but why does it affect so much bonds? Seems strange. I went short, but I only got 2 ticks. Okay. So you took O5. That's interesting. Sorry for the capsule holder. Oh man. I'm super mad because I still think that thing at 23.5 should have been, you know. I think I took a loser there that was not fair. He just laughs. It is. I mean, I say it's not fair, but it's the market is fair. Well, we all know the rules, and it did what it did. But I didn't like that trade. I should have gotten out of it way earlier, huh? Could have taken a little profit on it when it started moving all around a lot. But I really thought, well, I mean, I guess I was right in some respect. I really thought, hey, this seems irrational. And then they're both selling. It's going to reverse it a little bit. It did reverse it a little bit. Not a ton though. That move though, it pushed the spread. Let's move down. No, don't take down. Thank you. Come on. Nobody's selling it at 23. Buying it at 23, rather. Come on. They're probably gonna flip it here. They're probably gonna get at least one. You would think they would get at least one. Fine. Be that way. Ace says Mr. Short at 29.13. Oh yeah. Oh. Good call. Would have been a good call. He's shuffling it around a lot now. Finally. Jeez. Overnight, ECB said ECB should be ready to disappoint markets. Sometimes now ECB not. No need to resume QE. Market expectations overdone. Ooh, that's interesting. Tulsi Gabbard are not qualifying for the September debate. The debates are a great platform to be able to reach a lot of people across this country, but it's not the only way to be able to talk to voters and be able to spend time with them. Tulsi is a really interesting component of the Democrat primary, I have to say, because the guys on the Donald Trump side of things really like her. If she was the nominee, I think that she would be a very, very difficult opponent for the president. Because not only, I mean, one, she's a woman, and there's kind of some, so she can kind of play up the president as a big kind of angle that a lot of people are concerned about. But also, she she has the foreign policy chops, and she just seems like an extremely mature leader to me. She displays a lot of those attributes like um, personal. How do I want to put it? It's just like when you watch her in the debates and the way that she responds to things. So many of the other opponents, they didn't make the debates and they just said, "Well, we can't do anything. We get out." But she just says, "What did she say?" Oh, it's already off of my feed. The debates are a great platform to be able to reach a lot of people across this country, but it's not the only way to be able to talk to voters and be able to spend time with them. So she's like sticking in with it. And yes, the alligator stated, "No, I didn't know what he meant. Now I see the news ECB." Sorry, I thought because I had said that earlier. I think this could move higher, but we got to be a little bit careful about this 23 area. I only wanted to make the one tick, but I thought it was going to go up. I could have gotten a little more on it. They seem unlikely. I can see your butt. You most definitely cannot. If you guys could see my butt, there'd be a lot more people watching. I can tell you that much. Mm. It's kind of interesting though that the ECB that he doesn't think that they need to resume QE. I asked, could I? Oh, can I see your butt? I mean, I suppose that would be okay. I don't know if I stand up. If I don't know if you'll be able to see. No, see, we have to turn the webcam down. Okay, there now you can see my butt. No, I have to get like a little bit. There you go. I don't know. I don't know if that's very good view. But I have a pretty nice butt. I'm just saying. I am too old to imagine you in your butt. I'm just listen. Your stream is getting crazy. We have to do something. Like we were saying the other day, I don't think I'm the most entertaining streamer in the world, but every once in a while we got to do something crazy, right? I'm just saying. I know. I don't think I'm the best looking person in the world or anything like that. I got the bug eyes, which is a really weird feature. I don't think I've really met other people with eyes like my family's. The bug eyes thing is a weird thing, right? Okay, but the one thing that I've got is the butt. I know that. You just, you know, it's really hard to have a feature that amazing and not have people notice and notice that people are noticing. Thank you. I feel so much closer now. Oh, thanks. We still need to get together. You should have come to the alpaca thing. Let me tell you what. You would have enjoyed the. We got a few minutes so we can talk about the alpacas. I never told you guys about the alpacas. So we will go to see the alpacas. And I guess the way that it works is you can't have a boy and girl alpacas together. Okay. And they have a lot less guy alpacas than they do girl alpacas. I don't know what the difference is between them. They look the same to me. But on one side, you got a ton of girl alpacas, and they're all sitting there. And there's one girl alpaca that for some reason is really, really friendly. And she's just laying there by the fence. So you could come up and stroke her. And in fact, I think I can show you guys. Do I have it plugged in? I don't have it. I'd have to go find the card. So I can't show you. But like my stepdaughter was like sitting hugging this alpaca through the fence. It was great. Okay. And they have 3 babies. And then on the other side, there's like maybe 5 or 6 male alpacas. And some of these male alpacas are pretty young. So Ace is looking for a short. I kind of like the idea of a short, but it's so late. I don't think I will take one. Anyways, there are young guy alpacas, and so they were playing with each other, and the alpacas make really weird noises, and I can't really explain the sound, but they make weird noises, and they were like chasing each other and playing and making noises. Well, all of the girls, they noticed. They saw that the guys were fighting or doing something, and like all of the girl alpacas got super excited about it. And I guess it turned them on because then all of the girl alpacas wanted to come up to the fence, which was great because I was trying to take all these pictures across the field and everything, and my zoom lens isn't enough, and then all of a sudden they're literally right there in my face, and all of them in this huge group, and they had a giant alpaca cuddle puddle. Like it was ridiculous, and they were like laying on top of each other, and the lady said like, oh, they're like simulating having sex, but with just girls or something like that. It was weird, okay, but it was basically an alpaca orgy in front of us. Anyways, so you would have enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And it was pretty nice out there too. I mean, even though it was super sunny that day, we're out there and just enjoyed the sun. It was nice. I would go again. They do it again next year, would go again for sure. Would probably take a bigger lens. But it was fun. And now I have to think of something else I could do. So by the way, I should warn you guys. Cuddle puddle, I'm working that into my conversations today. You've never heard that term before? Oh my gosh. It's a rave thing, I guess. At raves, it used to be the thing because people that are on ecstasy um, become extremely sociable and loving because those are it kind of creates the kind of chemicals that make people act like that. And that's why they will respond really well to touch. And it's really good to give people that have like social anxiety, they can take ecstasy and it can fix their social anxiety. There actually probably are some medicinal uses for it, and they're actually starting to investigate it um, with small microdoses of it, of course. But I digress. And so they like to touch, they like to be touched. And so when people were on ecstasy, they liked to cuddle. And I don't see it as much, even though there's still a lot of that stuff at raves. And I haven't been in one in maybe a year, but um, when I first started, and it was a little bit more of an underground thing, you would just find like a whole group of a dozen people in the corner or something cuddling. I'm not even kidding. And it was called a cuddle puddle. Greg asks, alpacas are friendly? Yes, they are. So alpacas are prey animals, so they're a little skittish, but they don't really have any um, real predators, and they don't seem to view humans as predators. So they can be extremely friendly if they know you. So the lady that owned the farm, she was like, when they were cuddling, she like walked into the middle of them and like broke it up a little bit. She's like, okay, you don't need to do that. Get off of this other person's head. And this one alpaca that they said that was letting the kids like hug it they said was unusual. But but generally speaking, alpacas will totally come right up to you and let you touch them. I'll join Discord at 4 p.m. I'll have some helpful trading things. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, when you go in there, um, first thing you do is make sure to say something in one of the channels, either the lobby or the interest rate channel. Um, and when myself or Alligator, somebody sees that you posted something, they'll add the permissions to you so that you can post pictures. Post the link to the Discord things. Don't I? Don't I? I have it in the video description, don't I? It's in the video description. Use free Discord for serious chat right here. Come on. Here, I'll copy it in again. If you guys aren't in the Discord, you should check it out because there's some good stuff. And if you have chats, you can post them in the channel for the instrument that you're talking about. So, charts for the ZB and everything, you put those in the interest rates channel. There's also a channel for downloads. So if you have like an indicator that you want to share, you can put that there. There's also a channel for like education. What is it called? Econ and education. And you can attach things there or whatever, but there's so many good links in that channel. You can go way back. There's good stuff in there. It's given me another signal here. I'm wondering if that means it's going to turn down. I don't know. So I was just thinking it's because somebody was asking me about these histograms, and I haven't made the histograms public, and I'm still not sure what I want to do with it. I think that I kind of wanted to sit and mess with it a little bit more and try making money, try actually trading on it first. And maybe at some point we might try selling it. I don't know. But the thing is that There's a little bit of magic that I have to do to be able to apply the filters to things. I don't want that. And so that's kind of why I'm not making it public. But I will tell you that the thing that matters, I am literally just looking at every level 2 change. And it's based on that. So if you have any kind of programming chops at all, it would probably be not too difficult to program it yourself. But the thing on the split side is I think it kind of tells me something really interesting, because like I get these signals and I see a lot of people saying, oh, well, I saw something at that same spot too, but they weren't looking at the same thing. And it seems to me like that one kind of intangible quality that some people just seem to see and they can't describe, what they are actually seeing is the pace of level 2 changes. They're noticing that there's a lot of activity and they're taking reversals where the activity is. I think that that's what happens. And so you don't even necessarily need the indicator. You can just notice that, well, we came up to a level and now all of a sudden, I mean, you can still actually kind of see it a little bit. It'll just start changing really quickly. Right now, it's pretty quiet out here and only the inside is changing. But you'll see it'll start changing a ton. So that's what I look for. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Is there anything else we got here? I thought that IQ, you were already in the Discord. Oh, maybe he is, but he just didn't realize that it was there in the YouTube. Because IQ has been in the Discord from like almost the beginning, haven't you? Yeah, so you can see there. We did get a little bit of a spike. You could tell just because the inside bid and offer was starting to work a little bit harder. Okay, well, it is past 9 o'clock, so I should probably get going. Because I took those little trades and everything like that, I did come out positive on the day. Probably could have done a lot better. This thing was a +6 and then I got an 8. Man, I mean, if I had been quicker on my feet or had actually had the squawk or something in my ear, probably could have done really well there. But oh well. Anyways, had fun today. Thanks for putting up with my politics, because we talked a lot of politics today. Argued a little bit today, but I really enjoy it. And I hope none of you guys are like, oh, well, I don't like him because he says it, because I like you. You guys all did a really good job arguing with me. You're all very smart people. So he says, thanks. All right. I will catch you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay profitable, friends.